Hello and welcome to a very special reaction review video here in Las Vegas, where I have been staying to see the fantastic Angelina Jordan at the Westgate Resort. Now, this concert was last night, so I'm not sure when I am posting this video, but it's fresh, hot off the press for me, and I've made some notes and I want to talk about my thoughts overall on the concert. So stay tuned for discussions about the set and the sound and Angelina's vocals and just everything in between. So the Westgate Resort, where Angelina was performing, is an iconic place for many reasons. I think most famously for the fact that Elvis completed over 600 sold out shows there. So it's quite an impressive place to be, just in terms of the history. There's a massive Elvis sign when you walk in. There's a statue. I believe they do different Elvis tours there. It's a really unique and interesting place just to be, and I think a great venue for someone like Angelina to perform at. So it's exciting that we got to see her not only play a show there last night, but also sing some Elvis songs, which we'll get onto in a second. So this was not a sold out concert for Angelina. So what happened when I personally went in is that my seats were reassigned. So they closed off a lot of the back area and brought everyone forward. So I actually ended up moving from what was supposed to be a more central looking view to a side looking view. I was hoping to have the central view because I just enjoy being dead on, facing dead on, but it's fine. I actually ended up being closer to the stage, which I appreciate because it means I get to see the setup, the overall setup as well, which was amazing. And it did mean, therefore, that we were all closer together as a crowd. Now, on stage, we had a setup similar to the one that we had back at the Glendale concert in Los Angeles in September of 2024. So we had the brass section, we had guitar, we had drums, bass, we had a string section and backing vocalists, and then Angelina as well. I really appreciate having a full band set up like that. I think that for Angelina's music in particular, it's important to have that kind of a setup and not put lots of stuff to track, because her music lends itself to having that live element, and also just to have the actual live brass and live strings, I think elevates things. Anyway, that was our setup. No support act. So I wasn't sure whether there was going to be a support act or not, but there was not a support act last night. So straight into Angelina. Before we get to the actual show and me talking about her vocals and the set list and all of that kind of stuff, I will say that there was a very strict no filming policy at this show, which is such a shame because I was really hoping that I could film stuff and then react to it later on. But I was reliably informed that this was put in place by Angelina's management. So I don't want to go against Angelina's wishes if this is a concert that she wanted to remain private. I think they were filming it themselves. You could see footage going up on two big screens either side of the stage. So whether that footage comes to light at a later date, I don't know. What I will say is I did record audio from songs so that I could listen back and make some notes for this video and maybe for future videos as well, depending on what does come to light from this concert. So, no filming, such a shame, but in a way that means that you're more in the moment with the concert anyway. So I was really focusing in on Angelina and all the musicians and not watching through a phone. Okay, so let's get into the show itself. Angelina's introduction was so long. I can't believe how long it was. I don't know about anyone else who was there at the show, but I was expecting at several different moments throughout that introduction that Angelina would come out, and then nope, she's building the tension even more. So that was interesting to me because this was a technique, I guess you could say, that she employed not just at the beginning, but Angelina often, and did last night, has an interval. So after that interval, she came back with just music playing again. I sort of feel like we could have had Angelina walk out onto the stage a few minutes later after the interval. But anyway, by the by. So So a very, very long introduction for Angelina to come out on stage in terms of that musical setup. And then straight into our set. Now, the number of songs that we had last night, technically it was 20, but Angelina herself sang 19. And then what Angelina does is when she goes off for her interval, she will have this section where Rob Christie comes out and there's a big musical number, and the backing vocalists, who are fantastic by the way, get to sing lead, and you just get a little bit of an introduction to each of the instrumentalists on stage, and you get to enjoy a bit of a vibe. So that happened as well. And in that respect, I guess you can count that as your 20th song. But 19 that Angelina sung. Highlights for me were Suspicious Minds, of course. Elvis were in that venue. It felt to me like that was a song that Angelina was really comfortable and confident with. And when she steps into a song and you can feel that confidence from her, you enjoy it more, I think, as an audience member, because you can feel that she is feeling the music. So I really enjoyed having some Elvis within that iconic Elvis setting. I like that she gave that nod to Elvis as well. And on top of that, she did a fantastic cover of Tennessee Whiskey. I absolutely love that song, and I feel like it lends itself to Angelina's vocals. What I would say is that there were moments back and forth with Angelina throughout this concert where I felt her nerves. So our first song, Home, I think was the first song, that I felt her nerves coming through. And then she settled into our second song. Wait, let me just get the set list up. I'm going to put it on screen as well. Yeah, so just looking at the actual set list, we had our intro, No One Can Hear My Heart, Home, which I felt the nerves coming through. But then going into So Peaceful Beside You, I felt that Angelina settled into that. Suspicious Minds, again, really, really strong. Summer Wind, Love in the Dark, Tennessee Whiskey, one of my highlights, as I say. Mama, now it was Angelina's mum's birthday yesterday as well, so a special concert in that respect. Then Still Standing, Unchained Melody, a classic. The wardrobe change happened here, and that's when we had that Rock With You, the band introduction. The intro back into Angelina coming on stage. Super, super long, as I mentioned before. So Angelina came out and she stood on stage, and we waited for the music to come to an end before she sang, obviously. But I felt like we could have had that big sort of musical number on stage with the band playing and then Angelina coming out just before she sings. Then we had Play No Game, Mi Amor, which is a Spanish song that Angelina has written, and I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know how good the Spanish was, but nearby me there was an audience member who I had spoken to who did speak Spanish, and she absolutely loved that. She was shouting out at the end how much she loved it. So I guess on good authority, we know that that was A, great Spanish, and B, really interesting to hear her sing in a different language, in a different kind of style. Then after that, we had This Is a Man's World. Now, this is another classic and another one that Angelina steps into just in such a fantastic way. Hearing her belt on that kind of a song, I always get blown away by that. Again, she felt more confident. That kind of big band thing, I think, is where Angelina shines or feels most at home, I think, vocally. Then we had Bel Air, which I believe is again one of the new songs. And then Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay, so this Bohemian Rhapsody version was stripped back and much shorter in the arrangement, which was interesting. So not the classic kind of big sound, but I think that often artists will do a certain version of a song. They do it enough times in the same way that they want to break out and do it a little bit differently. So I wasn't expecting it to be the way that it was. And it could have gone, for me, it could have gone on longer, I guess, but it was this shortened version. Then we had Run to You, a classic, and something that, again, I feel that Angelina feels at home with. And then we had You'll Know When It's Gone, and I thought that that was really beautifully sung. And then our encore was Purple Rain. When that one started, I thought, oh, this is a great song for Angelina. Purple Rain, I mean, It's just so iconic. What I would say is that we could have had a double, triple version of it so that we had a lot more of Angelina's vocals, because there was a lot of guitar, which is fantastic to end with, having the electric guitar and just kind of building the atmosphere. But I'd have loved to have had lots more Angelina vocals. In general, what I would say is that even though we had 20 songs, the concert felt short. And I don't know why that is. I'm trying to think about it. Maybe because a couple of the arrangements were shorter than I was expecting, but it did feel like a shorter concert. We started fairly early, we finished fairly early. I'm gonna say it was 8:30ish when we finished, when the concert finished, which is pretty early, you know. If I rearranged the set list, I think what I would have done is I would have had a longer encore. So even if you were keeping the 20 songs, I'd have finished at song 16, 17, say, and then had Angelina leave, big applause, and then bring her back on and do the final 3 or 4 songs. I think that's what I was thinking could have happened at the end there, because of course when an artist finishes their performance, you sort of want them to come back and do, you know, a little extra something, and it's written on the set list that the encore is Purple Rain, but it just kind of felt like the last song. So what I would say is that in terms of Angelina's interaction with the audience last night, this is where I felt her nerves coming through again, possibly. She was much quieter in terms of audience interaction compared to when I saw her in Los Angeles. And so I don't know why, but perhaps she was just in a moment of reflection last night, and she certainly got emotional at points as well. So I think feeling the love from people, from her own family and the support that she has there, and also the family of angels. I know that obviously she has a huge heart and feels things in a big way. And so, yeah, I'm not sure the kind of vibe that she was in last night, but perhaps a more reflective one, and certainly a quieter one in terms of audience interaction. Although she did, you know, she did talk to us, and it wasn't complete silence. It's hard, you know, without showing you the actual clips, but it's just a little vibe change, I guess, from concert to concert. And we never know the reasons for this. As a singer, you can be going through so many different things and holding it within your voice. So it's always worth remembering that when you watch an artist and watch a concert, that you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, or how someone is feeling before they sing, after they sing, how a certain song makes them feel in the moment, and then has a knock-on effect as the concert goes on. Okay, so before we wrap things up, talking about some of my favourite vocals that happened at this concert last night, stick around for that. I want to just talk about what I think was going on with the sound at the concert. So anyone who was also there, let me know if you felt this when you were watching. I believe that her microphone, Angelina's microphone, had a gate on it, which means that if she wasn't singing at a certain volume, it would cut out completely. So there were certain vocals that I felt got lost, or you sort of need that nuance to come through, because Angelina has that vulnerability within her vocal when she does those quieter vocals. You want that to come through on the microphone. And I think what happened was that this gate that was on the microphone stopped some of these vocals from coming through. So that was a shame, because I think that having those intimate moments is really important for Angelina and for the audience as well. It only happened on a few occasions, but it's something that I noticed. And I think just the sound in general, the balance, it's difficult, isn't it? Because it depends on where you sit in the audience as to what overall balance you're going to get. But you kind of want the balance to be at a certain place, no matter where you're sat. So in talking to different people after the show, I could tell that we all got a slightly different performance. For some people, the lyrics were really clear, for others, not so much. For some people, certain instrumental parts were louder than others. So I thought that was interesting. But the main thing I wanted to note was the fact that although Angelina's vocal capture, you know, was loud and proud in the big notes, we did lose some of those more intimate moments with what I believe was a gate. Anyway, that's something to note for sure, because these things are important in terms of tech and how things come across. You never want the tech side of things to take away from the stylistic technique, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And anyway, let me talk about my highlight in terms of the high vocals that we heard from Angelina. I'm just going to get my notes out here, because we had drum roll, the C#6 that Angelina sung in one of her new songs called You'll Know When It's Gone. I had written it down as I Don't Regret the Night, but apparently it's called You'll Know When It's Gone. I'm just making up my own titles, everyone. Not only that, but her range was on full display in this song. So we actually went down to the F#3, so all the way down from there up to the C#6. And it wasn't the only high vocal that we heard. I really feel that Angelina was pushing herself and has been developing her vocal, and so her range is expanding. And we know that Angelina has a great low vocal, but it's really interesting to see that she's exploring these high vocals as well. I am excited to see what happens in terms of her upcoming album, which, ladies and gents, she did announce last night is coming this year. We had these new songs, all these new songs from that album. I assume they're all from that album, and it's coming this year. We don't know when. Of course, we hope it's sooner rather than later, but we have just had a few albums already from Angelina within the last 6 months. So I don't know. We're going to see what happens in terms of release timing. Okay, let me hazard a guess here. I'm going to say it's going to come out in September. That's going to be my guess. We'll see what happens. Watch this space. But it was amazing to hear her range on display in a different kind of way, and to hear her exploring those high notes, even though I felt that she was possibly nervous within some songs. I felt that it was great that she stepped outside of her comfort zone potentially to go into this part of her range and to showcase it. Yes, of course, we've heard Angelina sing high notes before, but we really were exploring what I felt was a different part of her vocal within a couple of these songs last night. So that was a highlight to see for sure. In terms of set list and the overall organization, I would say that to me, it felt like the set list had been put together recently. I wasn't sure if potentially there were other songs that Angelina wanted to do and then she changed a few out. I'm not sure exactly, but it felt to me, and it does feel to me sometimes, that Angelina is someone who wants to sing the songs that she's feeling on the day. So if that means changing things up, that's what she will do. And I'm interested to know how much rehearsal time that she and her band had together. You know, all the behind the scenes stuff. I wish I could be a fly on the wall and see what was going on in terms of that stuff. But I would have loved to have heard some songs from a few of the previous records, perhaps. We were definitely focused, I think, on covers that had more of the jazzier side of things and more of the old school side of things, and her newer stuff, which again kind of embodies that same jazzy, soulful vibe. So that was definitely the whole vibe of the evening. It's just personally, you know, when you go and see an artist and you have songs that you would just love to hear them sing, I was thinking, oh, I wonder if she'll do this, I wonder if she'll do that, and she didn't, which is fine. It's her set, it's her night, and of course we're there to soak up her vocals no matter what she sings. But I'm sure if you were there, let me know if there was a certain song that you wanted for her to sing, or even if you weren't there, what songs would be ones that you would want her to sing if you did go and see her live. Let me know that. But overall, I feel like the set list was on this vibe, this one level, and that was where Angelina was feeling most like she could express herself, I guess, yesterday. So yeah, a really interesting one, especially as it ended so early. It did mean that after the concert, I got to go and speak to so many of you. I met a lot of you again, some for the first time, some for the second, at the fan meetup, which I'll be including footage of in my vlog, which I'm working on at the moment, so stay tuned for that. But it was so nice to talk with so many of you again after the concert, so thank you for coming to say hi and talking with me. Honestly, it's just fantastic to be able to talk through the screen and then actually meet some of you in person, so I really, really enjoyed that. And I hope to see you again at another concert soon. Who knows when Angelina will be performing next, but I'm hoping, and it sounds like maybe there will be a more regular number of dates coming up. Keeping my fingers crossed for London. Let's all keep our fingers crossed for that, please. And hopefully I'll see you all at another concert soon. But thank you so much for watching this review, this rundown of everything that happened last night at the Westgate Resort. It was quite an evening, and I'm gonna go and relax now before I get on a flight. Okay, see you all very, very soon.